I'm very excited because it's United against Arsenal, chat. James is with us, and I'm going to come to you at some point because I find myself tweeting you for no reason, even though we're in DMs with each other all the time. But Nixon's with us, who's a United fan. And let's start this episode positively, I think. Nixon, you must be happy. You played well for the first time in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a weird one going into it because I felt like neither team, there's no jeopardy on the line for either team. I feel like with Arsenal, title's gone. With Man United, it's like, can we get into the top half? Even if we do, what does that really mean?
Mad.
So, yeah, it's crazy times. I thought second half, I thought we were probably the better team. I thought we created the better chances. Raya pulled out some crazy saves, although the free kick was a little bit suspect on his part. Obviously, the whole thing about the wall being further away than it should have been is all a bit weird. But yeah, look, the Mazraoui chance, the Hoyland two Hoyland chances, the Bruno chance at the end, we could have very well came out with that with a win. I think it's one of those where before the game you take a 1-1, but because we were 1-0 up and because of the chances that we had at the end, a win would have really done a lot for us, especially going into Thursday because the Europa League is where our season, if we're out in Europe, then our season's kind of over with. So, yeah.
Go on, James. I can see you just like the guy's like he's shifting in his seat so much. Just get
Yeah, I
whatever
got
is
the
on your chest,
sniffles.
bro.
I got the
This is
sniffles.
why we're here, bro. We're here
Oh,
to hear what you've got to say.
I have run out of words. I've used up all my words for the season. There's a film. Wow, what's it called? There's a film about like having 1,000 words or 10,000 words or something,
Yeah.
and that's what I feel like right now. I've got no words left for this Arsenal team. I knew today was going to be a struggle. I knew because we're so easy to play against at the moment. You just have to stick 10 men behind the ball, and then we'll just knock the ball around for a bit and be like, fuck, why is it not working? Why is it not working? Previously, Saka helped a lot. We don't have him at the moment. Havertz is probably underrated. People probably realise actually Havertz was a little bit better than people realised. But there's still no excuse to be this bad against low blocks. It's absolutely
Okay,
pathetic.
so can I ask you a question?
What?
Honestly, I'm not actually trying to wind you up, but you tweeted midweek about slapping PSV, and I tweeted you back because you tweeted me back after.
Yeah.
And you were like, people were disrespecting this team. We just slapped
Yeah, I
PSV.
said low
We're
block.
still one of the
I
best
said
teams in the
low
world. You
block.
need to slow down, bro.
We
You're
are
killing
still
yourself.
no, we are still one of the best teams in the world. And I believe
But
that.
how long is your list, bro? We're going to talk about this, but how long is your
No.
list? Like at this moment in time,
We're,
right at
we're
this moment in time.
top. Yeah, no, but I said at our best, we're still one of the best teams in the world. At this moment in time, we're missing two of our best players. But once Saka comes back, then put us back in the top five. It's that simple. And as I say, if we play Real Madrid in the Champions League, they're not going to play the way United did. They're not going to play the way Forest did or West Ham did.
But bro,
Teams.
do you know how good they are, bro?
Oh yeah. But it's a completely different proposition. We weren't supposed to beat PSV 7-1, but they played us in a way that suits us so much more. Now look, no, don't get me wrong. Real Madrid's going to be incredibly difficult if they win, but they play in a way that won't make us look so blunt in attack. Well, we'll see, man. We'll see who's talking. Trust me, because it's not. We will look so much better in attack against Real Madrid. And that sounds so ridiculous, but teams at the moment stick 10 men behind the ball, and there is no space on the pitch. I'm happy to look stupid. I'm happy for you to clip me, but we will look better in attack against Real Madrid than we have done in the Premier League because these teams now. And look, you can play whichever way you want, but the way teams play against us, because it's really easy to, makes it so difficult. And when you've got Saka, it's not as bad. But at the moment, we've just got guys who have no idea how to break down a very well coached block. May I say? I thought Amarin is good at coaching that. He did the same against Liverpool. He did the same against City this season. He knows
No,
what he's doing.
not against Liverpool. I disagree with that. I think Liverpool, we actually, I don't know if you agree, but I thought we came at you at Anfield. Like, I didn't think we sat back. But either way, yeah,
But you didn't sit back like you did today.
definitely
No,
not. No,
you're a bit more
yeah.
expansive.
But Amarim's style, I think, is kind of very well suited to being in the underdog from what we've seen so far. Whereas
Mm.
he's very good at setting up to kind of counteract the opposition. But then when the emphasis has been on United to win games, that's when you've been lost. So when you come up against low blocks, these, and I think it's kind of a thing about three at the backs nowadays. I think a three at the back system against the low block is very difficult because you don't have enough movement in the front five. So yeah, I think today was a very good example of where people are saying like United are terrible. This version of United are better against good teams than bad teams, and
Um, Sumit, you sat quietly. You've been patient, but I, s- I know you've got lots to say on subjects like these, and you normally have quite a nuanced way to look at it. Maybe because me and James are besties, and obviously when James tweets something, I want to get after him. But I'm going to read this tweet out to you before you give your thoughts. His tweet was the way people were speaking about Arsenal before this tie. Dot dot dot. We're one of the best teams in the world. A poor run of form doesn't change that. Someone
stand by
retweeted
that.
back saying PSV is one of the worst teams in the round of 16. Come on now. You said you can't try and discredit us when we're winning 5-1 away. So, me, your thoughts on this situation?
Do I? So is the question? Do I think Arsenal are one of the best teams in the world? Is that what's being argued here?
I think the question is that in current form and also of
I said,
my end of
by the way, can I interrupt? I said a poor run of form doesn't change that. So I said we're on a poor run of form, but I said we are still one of the best teams in the world overall, over a larger sample than the past
I-
2 months.
If let's what is the qualification for that? Like top 8 teams, right?
I told you this guy's nuanced, man. He's never going to give us a listen.
Well,
No, he's
yeah.
going to go give me all the T's and
Well,
C's.
what is like if it's top 10, then yeah, probably I would say Arsenal are in there. But like for me, it's like that's not like who cares? Like if okay, you are one of the best teams in the world if you exclude current form, but it's also like it doesn't really mean much if you're not ending the season in silverware, and that doesn't mean I don't mean to say that in the sense that like any season without silverware is meaningless. That's not what I mean. But I mean this the discussion of like who are the best teams. It's like if you're not winning anything, then it's not really like it's kind of a pointless discussion in my opinion.
I
Um,
agree. I agree. That, as I say, that wasn't my point.
yeah, yeah.
My point and question actually is more around the direction James took that when you said, and I think me and Nixon had the same expression. I wasn't looking at what Sabit was doing because I was covering my face, but you were saying this point you were making about Real Madrid. To me, it sounds like what you're saying is PSV were open, and that's why we got at them. And anyone who's open, we can get at them. And Real Madrid are more open than Manchester United are, and so therefore we have a chance. And
No, no, no,
my
dude.
point
No,
is
you're taking the wrong words here.
that's
I said
kind of
our attack will look better than it did against Man United. That's what I said.
Will you have players back from who is anyone coming back from injury?
Martinelli will be back.
Yeah.
Havertz is definitely out, and Saka might be back. We'll see.
Mm. The
bro.
idea I understand. The idea of all right, Real Madrid will come at us and therefore we'll look better because we can't do it against low blocks. West Ham done us, Man United have kind of done us today. I get that, but like the idea of that compared to the quality that Real Madrid then come with, because as well,
In the
it'll,
same way, we will look better in attack against Real Madrid than Atletico. Now, Real Madrid, pound for pound, have probably better defenders than Atletico, but Atletico have a better block, and they will set up in a way that nullifies us
But
more.
honestly, I don't think that matters. Like you might lose to Atletico 3-1 and aggregate or 3-2. You lose 6-2 to Real Madrid. Like because and I don't even mean that in a disrespectful way to Arsenal. Where you are right now, where they are, like they could beat Liverpool 6-2 on aggregate, genuinely, because they are that good going forward. It doesn't matter what they're doing at the back.
Yeah, but I
I,
didn't. To be fair, yeah, as I say, my point wasn't that we're going to beat Real Madrid. I just said we will have more joy in attack against Madrid than we have against these Prem low blocks.
When's the
And
listen,
you've just agreed with that by saying we're going to score 2 goals in 2 games against Real
no,
Madrid.
no, 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 no. I don't know how many goals you're going to score. My point is you will get slapped by Madrid, and my point on the midweek game was that the expression from Arsenal fans was that like bring Madrid to the table, like we
Yeah,
can
but
play against them, and
not
like
me. Not
no,
me.
no,
Some
no, but
people.
you were involved in some back and forth tweets. I saw
Yeah, because
you
I
were
just want to say we're not as shit as people say. People rule basically Arsenal fans, even a lot of Arsenal fans were turning around saying, "Bin the season. We've got nothing this season." I'm saying we can still sit at the table, whether we're going to beat Madrid or not. We're massive underdogs that game, especially with the injuries. But it doesn't mean we throw away the season because what serious team says, "Oh, we're in the Champions League, sack it off"? Even Aston Villa aren't doing that. Aston Villa haven't
I mean,
given up on their season.
explain we can sit at the table. What do you mean by that?
We can compete. I think it's not going to be in the same way that Arsenal PSV is worlds apart in quality. I think the game against Real Madrid or the games against Real Madrid will be good games. We'll see.
I agree with that in the way at which I think you're up there in terms of one of the best defenses in world football currently. And I know it's Mbappe and it's Vinicius and it's Bellingham, of course, and Rodrigo. I know all that. But I do think it'll be a tight. I don't think you'll get swiped. I think I think you'll be in it, but I think ultimately Madrid's quality would just come through. And this is all under the assumption, by the way, that Atletico don't turn around and do
Yeah.
something special because Diego Simeone's got it in him. He could do something, but
Nah, bro.
it probably
Nah,
Yeah,
won't
but
nah.
happen.
you say nah. They only need to win at home, right? They can
Yeah,
win 1-0.
yeah.
Yeah, but
No, then it goes extra
Atleti
time.
versus
No,
Atleti versus Real Madrid in the like not just Champions League, but over the years when Atleti need to do something,
they don't.
apart from that one title race, they will bottle it. It's like Dortmund when they play. You know when Dortmund play Bayern on like game week 30, there's 1 point between them. Everyone's going, "Oh, here we go, Dortmund," and they'll get slapped 5-1. Like it would have honestly, it would, for years it would happen to Liverpool against City. We'd go to the Etihad, we'd be 2 points behind. We need to win. They beat us 3-0. Like it's what people say like they little bro you, and Madrid do that to Atletico so frequently that it will
To
take
be fair,
something
they do that to everyone.
Yeah.
Madrid do that to everyone.
true, but that's the thing, like that. So Atleti, like going to Atleti is not going to be that frightening. They need to score one goal, and Atleti would need to score three. Atleti ain't going to score three. So I don't know. I just think I don't know the whole. Maybe you weren't involved, but the discourse around like we slap PSV and therefore like we can go and dance with the devil. The devil's Real
I know
Madrid,
what you
bro.
mean,
Like
and people said it when the draw happened. People said it before we even played PSV. But you know how A, online is, and B, Arsenal fans especially are insufferable at times. And a lot of them are doing it for clicks. A lot of them are delusional, and a lot of them, I don't know, if had I've spoken about this before, but had we won something major, people speaking like this wouldn't really rub people up the wrong way. But because we
mm,
haven't won anything yet, the fact that people say, "Give me Madrid, give me this," it's like the Madrid highlight we have is Henri in 2006. So
that's
like,
mad.
let's be humble and let's wait our turn before we start. The thing is, also, it's football. Have a little bit of fun. Like, yeah, bring Madrid. Let's see what's up. It's not
Mm.
like, what's the point in us turning around and going, "Oh, I don't want Madrid. They're really scary. They win every year." Like, come on.
Hey, listen. That would be me. I'm saying, keep me away from the big dog until the final. As far away from them as possible. Give me Villa. Give me Atalanta. Give me Club Bruges. Give me all these guys. Let me take
Especially
these
you,
guys
But
out.
that happens.
especially
That
you. They've
happens to
haunted
you. Debate.
Yeah.
Liverpool gets some over the years. I feel like you guys have gotten some good draws in your Champions League runs.
2022.
The
You did.
17, 18 as well. That was you guys played Roma in the semifinal. You
yeah.
played City. No, the City win was impressive. In the
We played City. We played City in 2 of the 3 years we made the final, and City
but
were
I
better
feel
than
like
in the league at that time, and we beat them
you guys
twice.
always get Porto or something in the round of 16. Like you never get.
Nah, Porto's a group stage thing, bro. We slap them 5-6 in the group stage regularly. Like we always play them in the last group stage game, and say there's like 2 points between us qualifying. Oh, big Portuguese away from home. Like, do you remember when Pepe scored that goal in 1946 to knock Liverpool out? And honestly, we'll rock up. Fabinho will score 5
Yeah.
by the 16th minute, and it's like, see you later. As we mentioned at the start, we'd come back to this topic of the best team in the world, and it actually was because of James's tweet. I followed it up and put my list of top 5 teams, and people very angrily disagreed. So let's decide this number one team in the world, because James has already said that he'd have Arsenal in his fully fit Arsenal in there somewhere. So James, you can start us off. Who? Let's give us your top 3 teams in the world in order.
Not like a Liverpool fan to start bringing up the best teams in the world right now, is it? That's it's weird that you put this segment on the pod. Um, I'll go Liverpool, Madrid, and Barcelona, but they do
So,
feel fallible. Like their defense at times leaves a lot to be desired, but when Rafinha and Yamal are cooking, they cook. So essentially, kind of who succeeded in the Champions League and then Madrid. But hey, look, who finished third? Arsenal. So there you go.
The thing is, when I tweeted that Barca, so I had Barca fifth. Like I went on a mad one, which was silly because their fans flipped basically because they were saying I had Madrid second as well. They've beaten Madrid twice this season, I think, in the league, or definitely beaten them in the league. They're above them in the league, and in the Champions League, and on the better side of the draw. So even I was like, actually, like I think I got tweeted by about four guys, and I just stopped tweeting. I was like, I got nothing to say, man. You guys got this right. So even I'm like, how, like, what's the rationale from us to put Madrid second?
Because of who they have. They're just a moment's team. So like it depends where you want to judge this, but if we judge it in like Champions League contexts and every team played everyone, I think Madrid just in the biggest moments just have that inevitability. And unfortunately, no matter like if we say their tactics aren't as sharp as the other teams, they're probably second favourites for the Champions League this season. So it's hard not to put them up there in the top three teams in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone first, to be completely honest. So I've gone Madrid, Liverpool, and then Barca. Um, Liverpool have obviously been the more consistent side throughout the season. Obviously, they beat Real Madrid at Anfield quite convincingly 2-0. But it's just the pure amount of individual quality that Real Madrid have got. I can't not put them first. We are talking about Mbappe, Jude, Rodrigo, Vinny, and even like Valverde and players like Rudiger. It's just the quality is immense. And Champions League, bro, they're just gonna turn
Okay,
up.
so
They're gonna turn up, and they're probably gonna cross paths with your team, Liverpool. And I think most people would probably put Madrid favourites in that tie, if I'm being completely honest.
so before Samit gives his thoughts, because Samit is effectively now deciding whether it's Madrid or Liverpool that we have in number one. Liverpool are top of the most difficult league in the world. Liverpool top the Champions League group, and they beat Real Madrid. So how are Liverpool not top would be my question. I'm with you. Like I'm also with you. I'm trying to like figure out the reasons why because I've got Liverpool and Madrid really close as 1 and 2, and I'm with you when you said Liverpool probably don't really want to draw Madrid. Bro, I don't want to draw Madrid. I want to avoid them like the plague. But they're going to at some point. If it's not Atletico, it'll be Real Madrid. Um, so even I'm like, but why are we like, yeah, even if they don't win La Liga, but they win the Champions League, they're the best team in the world.
Because they've done it consistently now for like that last. I can't like they had a fall off around 2020, but for the
Mm.
last 3 years, they've been so good consistently. And I think that's where obviously Liverpool fell off a little bit. That's where for me, Real Madrid still makes that tops that list for me.
Cool, so
Yeah, for me, so I would go like it's like everyone said. Like I think my instant gut reaction is that Real Madrid are the best team in the world. However, like what you said, Nubaid, if Liverpool are top of the most difficult league in the world, they top the Champions League group stage, and crucially, they beat the team that we are discussing to be number one. If all that happened and you're still saying they're number two, then why do we even play the games anyway? You would just put Real Madrid always number one, right? Like, at what point do the games not matter, right? Like, we actually had let's say Liverpool didn't play Madrid, right? We'd be hypothetically discussing, oh, if they played each other, who would win? But they did play each other, and Liverpool won.
I
So,
do want to say,
like,
that game, unless I'm mistaken, Real Madrid didn't have
A lot.
arguably one of the best players in the world in Vinicius, who against Trent or against Bradley actually that game would have probably made quite a
did we
significant
have
difference.
Kelleher in goal that day though?
yeah, didn't someone save a
Yeah,
penalty?
he saved an Mbappe penalty. I
Yeah, so we
completely
didn't
forgot
we
about
didn't
that.
have the best goalkeeper in the world either.
Yeah,
I
no,
think
no,
they'd have.
no
I
Vinicius,
think
no Rodrigo.
And it
as
was
well.
at Anfield, to be fair. It's a completely different game taking that to the Bernabeu. But like we said, like at what point are we just discussing hypotheticals and not what actually happened, right? At some point, what you do on the pitch has to matter. And the two teams played each other.
Mm.
And yeah, like Liverpool were missing Allison, Madrid were missing Vinny. Like, I get it. But the game happened and one team won. Pretty convincingly too, if I remember correctly, right? It wasn't like
Yeah, I was at the game.
yeah, it was pretty convincing. So based on that, you have to say Liverpool are the best team in the world. Otherwise, like in August we can say Madrid are the best, and in May we'll say Madrid is the best. What's the point? Like everyone will always say Madrid because they just have
The
the history of doing it. So that's my 2 cents.
what's going to
On
be jokes is when Madrid beat Liverpool in the Champions League over 2 legs. Everyone watches this video back, and we're going to be like, "Hey, listen." All right, let's move swiftly on. We've got that out of the way. Liverpool are the best team in the world currently. And I want to just clarify, James tweeted it, which made me tweet it. I didn't plan to tweet this. In fact, no, very quickly, actually, before we quickly move on, you had Barca third. I had Barca fifth. I think I had Inter third. I can't lie. Nixon, Samit, who you got third?
I've got Barcelona.
Yeah,
I don't know why you've got into that. Why are you so hot on Inter?
Because they're unbelievably good, man. Like, they're so good. Like, I think out of all the teams in the Champions League, in terms of like a really awkward tie, like a team that's going to make it really hard for you, for anyone, Liverpool, Madrid, Atleti, Arsenal, whoever, they're the ones. And they've got like real quality to win a game. The only problem they've got is when they come up against like a Madrid who are like guaranteed to score 3 goals, like they're not going to score 4. But I think they're seriously underrated, and I think tactically they're so much more fluid than anyone else. Like if you think back to the City final, they still play similar to that, but a few things have changed. But they popped City off the park. They should have won that game, and they just didn't have like the star power, like the what's it called, the fairy dust. And Lautaro, as we know, like in those occasions, decides he's I'm trying to think of a South American striker that he's Higuain in those games, basically. Yeah, I've got Inter third, but majority rule. So it's Liverpool, Madrid, Barca. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Let's talk about Chelsea before we talk about the top 4 race. That's why Samit's here. But not specifically Chelsea on the whole. Honestly, your club is so confusing, bro. Like I'm so like lost with how Chelsea fans feel or don't feel or what's happening. Like you were really good. Now you're like, then you were really shit. Then you were like average. Now you're just, I don't know. Like honestly, it's got to a point where, who are you playing today? You won 1-0.
Leicester City.
Bro, I didn't even want to watch the game. I don't know why. Like you've become that team. I don't know if it's just me or James and Nixon feel similar.
It's Chelsea fans too. Chelsea fans are at that point.
I was just going to say.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
Basically, Chelsea were overperforming, then were underperforming, and now are probably performing at about the level that people expect. So, again, it's another one of those ones where this title talk has made people think they were horrific. And then they did go on a bad patch of form, but they had some hard fixtures. And then they've just come off the back of playing Southampton at home and Leicester at home. So, like, you can't take too much from those games because both of those teams are some of the worst that have ever been in the league. And pretty, I didn't watch the game today, but 1-0 against Leicester feels pretty underwhelming.
That's hanging. So, do you know what hanging means?
No.
I don't know what you mean by that.
You don't know what hanging means?
What, is it
but not
hanging
in that
on?
context.
What do you mean?
Oh, bros, we've got Southerners galore. Hanging is like where something's... Yeah, but listen, shush. Hanging's like when something's like, I don't know, just horrible. So like, you'll go like, he had a hanging performance. He had a horrible performance. It's very northern. Anyway, James and Nick.
I'd love to hear
you guys.
If the rest of Twitter know that, because I've never heard that. Like honking.
Tweet it. Go on, tweet it.
If you say honking,
hanging, Hanging, tweet it. Sumit, forget Chelsea. Cole Palmer. What the hell is happening?
Yeah,
and why is no one talking about it?
I think people are starting to talk about it because now I think it's 7 games in the league without a goal contribution. I think it's like 8 in all competitions because he played against Copenhagen in the Conference League midweek. I honestly think like this is a concern that people had when Pochettino was sacked and Maresca was brought in, is that a player like Cole Palmer, who will always demand the ball and get on it really, really deep and make things happen, right? That sort of player, I think, is well suited to a manager like Pochettino, who tends to give his players a lot of freedom in the attack. It's sort of very like high energy football, box to box. There's a lot of goals. Our defense wasn't great last year, and I think that it exemplifies the type of system Pochettino has. And then going from that to Maresca, who from day one was like, I want to control the game. I want to control the tempo. I want to be the one that is making things happen. I don't want teams to come on to us, right? So there was that concern in the beginning of the season that like Palmer would just not replicate that sort of his performance levels, right? And I don't think anyone expected him to like do better than he did last season because his numbers were ridiculous last season. He had like 45, 50 goal contributions, just ridiculous. And but he started the year so well that I think people were like, oh, it's not going to be an issue. But what I would say to that is I think the beginning of the year, there was still elements of Pochettino's style that was like, I don't want to say affecting, but it was in the team's minds. A lot of our games early in the season were like very free flowing, box to box. Like I think that Wolves game that was 6-2. We played West Ham away 3-0. The Spurs game 4-3. Like very very high scoring, high energy games. And then now that it's been a few months and Maresca has sort of like implemented his style, and we've had some injuries as well, but that's really not an excuse. Is that Palmer just feels like he doesn't. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but really fit Maresca's system in the sense that Maresca plays him really central. Palmer's a very, very, very one-footed player. He hates turning to his weak foot on the right side, and I think teams have kind of realized that. And what they do is they just double team him basically in the middle, and he just doesn't have space to run into. Whereas early in the season, because teams weren't, it's kind of similar to what teams do to Arsenal. Is like early in the season, people were not sitting back against us; they were going at us because we didn't have that great of a season last year. Now teams are sitting back and then just put two midfielders on Palmer, and he's kind of in no man's land. Um, so it's not surprising to me that he's had some like a bad run of form. But I also think there's a solution in that I would just play him back on the right side, and I would get either Gusto or Reece James has actually been pretty fit recently. If I can get Gusto or Reece James running like overlapping him, right? I think that would help a lot. But Maresca would never do that because he likes having like Madueke on the right. Palmer is too good of a
Question
Go
though.
ahead.
I think James were about to say something, probably quite similar to me here. I just looked at his stats in the last 13 games, which is pretty much half a season. He's only contributed in 3 different games. So and even those games are Palace, Bournemouth, and Fulham. I think one of those was a pen, one's an assist. So he's basically not been involved for half a season. And then I looked at Foden's, and it's almost identical. But there's only 1 or 2 players this season that I've heard spoken about where people have gone, like Saka had a quiet run. He's garbage. Like, he's not the guy. Salah, I mean, he scored 2 pens against Southampton and people going to deduct his penalties and he's just not that good anymore. Bro, Foden and Palmer, no one talks about them. The media never touches
We know
on
why.
but yeah.
Like that really like, are we gonna play dumb? Like we know who's the guy on he writes for the Mirror, Darren Lewis, I think it is. I want to say
Yeah.
he was speaking about like how the difference in treatment in the media between like black players and white players, and he was saying that like Rashford, right? If he had done what Grealish did the other night, which is like turn up from a club at like 2-3 a.m. like drunk, like all that sort of stuff, like what would people have said about Marcus Rashford, right? So I think with Foden and Palmer, like they're not obviously into any of that stuff. They just had a bad run of form. But I think the floor for people to criticize the likes of Foden and Palmer are just way higher. They're always going to be higher because that's what the media is, and not just England, but it's the same thing in America too. Like, I'm sorry, like the white athletes, they just can get away with a lot more. They just can. It just it is what
The
it
thing is as well, it's really irritating because like we hate bringing it up, but no one's asking Palmer and Foden to get like crazy stick. The whole point of bringing this up is to say nobody should be getting that stick, but to kind of highlight the fact that look, can you see the difference? Look what's going on. So stop abusing these players who are getting abused for obvious reasons. That's what is so frustrating, that people go, oh yeah, good point. Oh, and then carry on doing it. And it's like, no, the whole fucking point is that stop abusing guys like Saka, Mainu, these guys. And we've spoken before, English culture is so desperate to bring someone all the way to the top just to tear them down. And yeah, with certain players, they bring them to the top and then kind of forget to tear them down, it seems. But it's just the culture in general is unnecessary, and it has always been this way with English culture. I don't know why.
That?
But it's very English though to me, don't you think? Because people say like American culture, like in NBA, they don't try and do this tear down as much.
Yeah, they'll do it if there's like if a player has a bad reputation, but it's actually earned. Like you guys may know this, you may not. In American sports, like every other player has been arrested. Like I feel like every week there's like some report, some NFL player did this, some NBA player did this. So like those guys get a bad rap, but they've also done bad things, right? I don't think we have this culture where like just a regular guy, like the equivalent of whatever Bukayo Saka is in the NBA, whatever Phil Foden is in the NBA or NFL. Nobody brings them up, and then a week later they're like, "This is the worst player that's ever played. He's overpaid, yada yada." So it is really interesting. I would say as an outsider to just view that culture, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, on that subject, I was watching the Starting Five. I think it's called Starting Five, documentary on Netflix where it follows around the five NBA players, and like just the way they conduct themselves, how they speak to the media, and how comfortable they are in press conferences after games, it is night and day compared to what you see in England. And it's sad to see because it's players are super robotic now, and it's like I can't even really blame them because ultimately, if they are too comfortable and say something that the British media don't like, they'll get torn down. So yeah, it's definitely something that we could learn a bit from. I mean, even the Champions League coverage of CBS, like they invited Speed on the
Mm,
other day. Could you imagine
it was
like?
sick.
Could you imagine Sky Sports, Roy Keane sat there with Speed? He's not got a chance.
Yeah, it's
Not got a
insane.
chance.
It's so weird because like I completely forgot about the Rashford Grealish thing. To be fair, I was literally I think my viewpoint on it is that we've spoken about this many times, but like Foden and Palmer, Foden especially, is so incredibly protected versus say Saka, and we obviously know why that is. But then the Grealish and Rashford thing, I just find that's very British to explain to you, to me, and anyone who's not from England. Grealish went out and got drunk, and the media reported it as like he left 2 grand on a tab in a local pub. What a legend! But when he goes out and gets drunk, like people relate to that because people went to uni, people drink like that, they go to pubs, and they all go and want their tab paid for. Like, but when Rashford goes on a night out, he goes on a night out in Mayfair, where like probably 5% of this country has ever been, and he goes to a club where there's no such thing as paying the tab for everyone. There's no that culture doesn't exist. Like everyone's rich in that place, and that is what I think irks the British media and public, that like this black man is so rich and he goes to the rich spots and has a great time, but Grealish is like this humble,
Yeah,
puts 2 grand down on the tab for the locals. What a legend! Like wants us all to get boot. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But it will keep happening. Like, and also to factor that further in, Grealish has been awful for 18 months, and no one cares.
he was £100 million player. Like I don't think that fee gets brought up enough when we talk about him. It's not just that he went to a big club and didn't play as well as everyone hoped, and that he has this off the field like drama. He cost it was a British record at the time, no? Was it not? Was it
That
not a British record?
that's also a Man City effect
Yeah, 100%.
because
Nunes.
Man City get away with doing that stuff time and time again. Like they can afford to do that both financially and also because kind of they've been so successful. Whereas if that happened at United, Arsenal, Liverpool, maybe even Chelsea, it would get talked about to the high heavens forever.
What do you think happens next for Grealish, considering he went to City for 100 million? Obviously, this off the pitch stuff will just carry on, but I don't think at the elite level, like when you're winning Champions League and Premier League, I don't think that that can keep you going when you're playing poorly. But I was chatting to someone about this recently, and I was like, "What actually happens with him? He's
He's coming
29. It was
MLS.
100
He's
million.
coming MLS. I'm telling you.
Nah,
I
bro,
think he could leave the Premier League as well. To be honest with you, I could see it.
really?
Yeah, I don't know. I question the drive and the want to keep playing at the very top level. I think we all view players as like, every single one of them has got to have that in them. Some players just don't, and I just feel like Jack Grealish is just one of those players who, listen, he's got his treble, he's got his Premier League titles, he's got the brand deals, he's happy. I could genuinely see him going and playing, maybe not MLS, maybe somewhere in Europe, sunny country, don't know, somewhere just to take it
Do I
easy.
be for other team?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
That's mad though. Like it's such they'll never talk about it, but it's such a fall off.
Yeah.
Like when Pogba cost 100 million and then dipped, they said he fell off. But I don't think people will say Grealish fell off. I don't know why. Like, and he's other. I do know why. City won loads of trophies, of which I think he contributed to for about 6 months. But the rest of the period, like they lived without him and they were fine. So it's a weird one. I don't know how we end up on the Jack Grealish topic. And Palmer escapes again. We went from Cole Palmer and landed at Jack Grealish.
You know
Maybe
what?
this is our
I
fault.
think
Maybe this
no,
is our
I will
fault.
say going back to Palmer, I think the reason it's not gotten like you haven't seen this like general media coverage on him is because this is the first time it's happened in in his senior career, really, since he's been thrust into the spotlight. Like even at the Euros when he wasn't playing, every time he came on, he would play well. So it was like he's basically never played poorly in the eye of the public, right? He probably had some poor
Mm.
games for City, but no one really knew who's number 80 for Manchester City, Cole Palmer, who is that, right? Since he's been at Chelsea, he's pretty much never had more than like one or two poor showings in a row. And even for some of our poor losses last year when Arsenal beat us like 5-0, like he didn't even play that game because I think he was sick or he had COVID or something. Or so like this is the first time it's happened. So I think there's the expectation like, oh, this is not normal. Like he'll come back, right? Like if not this week, he'll score next week. If not next week, he'll score the next one. He'll come back. Whereas if it does persist, I think you will start to see some of that. Like the stat you brought up, like he's only contributed to goals in 3 of his last 13 games, which is like at this point like half the season. Like stuff like that will get brought up, I think, if it continues, because we do have difficult fixtures coming up and crucial fixtures, and our last 5 games of the season are very difficult. We have Liverpool, Newcastle away. We've got United at home, but United always give us a game at Stamford Bridge. And then we end the season at Forest, which could be like a top 4 decider, right? So
Yeah.
even if he's poor for the next few weeks, if he shows up in those 4 games, no one's going to say anything. If he doesn't, I do think you will see the general media get onto him. So, yeah, let's make sure he doesn't escape because we moved on to Grealish, but
Quick one as well on the Cole Palmer thing. First of all, praise to Cucurella, by the way, because not just today, but I genuinely didn't like when Chelsea first bought him. I thought everyone thought this would go down as a flop. I think he's been very, very good this season. When he inverts, he's very effective, and I think he's one of maybe the only Chelsea fullback who can invert really well. So credit to him. On the Cole Palmer thing, I think one thing as well that isn't really spoken about enough on the topic of not being spoken about enough, the surrounding players, Madueke, Sancho, Pedro Neto, Nkunku, none of them, in my opinion, are doing enough. And actually, to me, I think it'll be interesting to hear what Jadon Sancho on loan, 25 million at the end of the summer. What do you reckon? Because he started well, but he's fallen off. As a United fan, I don't know what you think.
yeah, I never wanted him because I don't want to be a club that has to save players. Like I don't want players to look at Chelsea like I want to go here so I can revive my career. I want players to look at Chelsea like I want to go here so I can be a part of something great, like we used to be, right? So I always thought the deal was weird because if it was a loan, I think I'd be more content with it, but it's an obligation to buy. Like it's not like it's an option, right? So we're going to pay that 25 million. And it was a weird signing because he has already shown like he's at his ceiling, I think, in England. He's not, even though he's pretty young, I don't think like next season he's gonna suddenly get like 15 assists or something in the league and just develop into this really, really, really good player. So I was always kind of against the signing. It on the other hand, it's 25 million in 2025 is pretty much nothing. If he's coming as a rotational like option, like first winger off the bench, starts all the FA Cup, League Cup games, I wouldn't say it's that big a deal. The issue is like now with Mudryk sort of banned temporarily at least from football for doping apparently, and the fact that Madueke is now hurt, Sancho is getting a lot of minutes that I don't want to say worthy of, but I don't think he is good enough to be like our best winger. And right now, he probably is our best winger, which kind of sucks. Like he probably is our best winger because Neto at this moment in time plays like as a false 9. So again, I was never like a huge fan of the signing. I honestly think for the same price, even cheaper, I would have just bought back Callum Hudson-Odoi. I would have just been like, the guy is Chelsea through and through. Just bring him back for like 15 million. Before the start of the season, I think that would have been possible. Now he's playing much better. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
That's such a sensible thing that
We
Chelsea
just
will
don't
just never do, bro.
even.
Like you will, I think you will sign Sancho in the summer for 25 million, and I think he'll be gone by the next summer for like the same amount of money with the same level of expectation. And I completely agree with you. I felt when he came to United, I didn't think he was ready for the Premier League. Like I think in the Premier League, you need either pace or you need power, and he's neither of those. Like he's a technical. He's like I don't know. For me, he's a technical
Yeah,
midfielder who happens to play out wide. and like whenever I see him run past his man will always catch him up. So I'm like, there's actually no point in you dribbling past your guy because he's gonna catch you up
He had a
anyway. Just pass it off to someone
He had a
else.
clip today where it was like second half and it was still like 0-0, and we were chasing a goal, and Enzo played him through on the right, and he's up against like Luke Thomas, Leicester's left back, and he tries to like Bale did, like knock it around him and run the other way. And I was like, brother, you don't have that in your locker, bro. You can't do that. That's not your game. And he lost the ball, but like he's a good. I am happy for him in the sense that like I think he's happier at Chelsea. I think he feels a little bit at home. I think he had some issues at United off the field. I don't know too much about that, but I think these days, like I think it's important when you talk about players, like we don't know what is going on in these guys' personal lives. Like at least on the level that I think he's enjoying his time at Chelsea, I'm happy for him. On a footballing level, like you said, Nubid, like if he was sold in a year, I wouldn't be that shocked. Like it is something we would do.
Yeah, it's weird. He's landed at a place now where like there was a point where everyone would like United fans would defend him, Chelsea fans would want him, the world would want him, and now I think he's landed at a point where like people have gone, you were like last year's news. Like I don't care if you're scoring or not. Very quickly before we wrap, James, I've got a psychological question for you. Do you remember we did an episode on Cole Palmer's penalty taking,
Yes,
and we were
because
talking
Samit
about
gave us a really, really detailed explanation on the way he shapes his foot. I was thinking about this before.
yeah. So Nixon, obviously you're a huge pod listener. You must have listened to that episode.
100%.
What was the contents? Let us. I'm playing.
Don't put me under pressure.
What I was going to ask you, James, is I saw Palmer miss a great. I think he was 2 1-on-1s against Southampton, and they were so uncharacteristic of him because everything we know of him is that he doesn't think about these moments, and I think he even reacted to one of them in a way that I haven't seen yet, where he looked like it had directly affected his performance and how he was feeling. Now, being someone who's massively into psychology, what like where are you with that? Like, what do you think's going on?
Yeah, I thought about this earlier. Now, I haven't watched the penalty, so good penalties can be missed and bad penalties can be scored. So it might have just been a case of variance, but I think the thing that summarizes that performance the most was the fact that he said on his Instagram, he said like he said
Yeah,
happy with the win, but gutted with my performance or something. And that's the sort of thing that shows he's very like that game. He's really in his own head at the moment because really you shouldn't be mentioning your own performance, even if like there's ways to go about it. But I think the way he said that made it seem like actually he's not focused on the fact that Chelsea just won and it was a convincing win. He was kind of focusing on himself, and that's why he's overthinking things. Maybe.
well, he said, I've just pulled it up here. He said on that Instagram post, "I'll be back,"
That's what I
and
mean.
this, like,
So
this
he's
is while
trying to.
he's playing.
It's so interesting as well because I was thinking about this. Like, if anything, this Leicester's penalty should be one of the least pressure penalties he's ever taken. He's taken penalty against City to draw the game in the 90-plus minute. He's taken a penalty for England in the Euros, and one at
Yeah.
home against Leicester is the one he misses. But it's because he's so now like he's his own worst enemy, is what it seems like. So before he was just doing his thing, and he wasn't worried about beating himself up. The crowd doesn't affect him, but he affects himself, I think, which is why he missed it.
Interesting. I've just watched the penalty back. I can't decide and go and watch it after the pod whether it's a good pen or a good save. It's one of those where it's like he's hit it really hard to the keeper's side, not quite in the corner. Keeper's chosen the right way, and it's a decent save. Maybe you watch it back, James, and go on.
Last thing I'll say on this topic, though, is that sometimes a penalty can look good, but Palmer usually sends the keeper the wrong way. So if he didn't, it suggests that there's something in his technique that's gone differently that he's not been able to disguise it.
What's happened to Palmer? I found the title for this video. What's happened to Palmer? What's happened to Grealish? Why is Foden getting away with it? I'll be the opposite of propaganda. I just keep naming more non-black footballers in the title. Now I'm playing. All right, that's all we've got time for. We're going to talk about the top 4 race. Probably, I think this story will continue because there's. I just whipped up the table earlier because I've kind of got to this point with the season where because things are just happening as they have been all season long. Like the worst 3 teams are still the worst 3 teams. United are still in the bottom half. Spurs are still in the bottom half. The top four is basically the same as it's been practically all season, with a few teams changing. Fulham are technically in there. They're 7 off Chelsea, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Villa, Brighton, City, Chelsea, Forest are all in this like top 4 race. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But for now, that's it. Very quickly, before I let you go, because I don't know if all 3 of you are going to be on at the same time again, who do you think is finishing in the top? Who do you think is finishing 4th? I'm going to say Forest are going to finish in the top 3. Who's finishing 4th?
I'm tempted to go City.
I think
I just
City.
think Pep will just do what Pep does and
Bro,
somehow.
but they're so bad.
I know,
Like,
I know. I just think if they get a little run, and also this goes down to me trusting Man City more than I trust Chelsea at this moment in time. It's
Fair.
not as much as it is that I believe in Man City to do it. It's just Chelsea.
Go on, James.
Yeah, I'll go Man City.
Right.
They've been there, done that, and like I know they're kind of just coasting at the moment, but they can turn the screw when they need to, and they can't afford to miss out in Champions League. That'd be insane.
Yeah, I've got a mad stat for you before we go. Everton have lost 9 games this season. Man City have lost 9 games this season, which is insane. Everton have also drawn 12, though. Context. Anyway, that's all we've got time for. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, follow the guys. Links will be in the description. If you're watching on Spotify or listening on Apple or anywhere else, make sure you follow the pod, and we'll see you on the next one.